So there, good afternoon. I'm here with me today, the one who gave me a once-in-a-lifetime interview last year at Manila Peninsula in the Philippines. So that interview was literally changed my life. A year after that, I'm already here in America. Yay! So I'm very honored. So last time it was him interviewing me. This time, I will interview him. There. So Mr. Raymond, can you tell us about your experience in the Philippines?
Well, I had a very interesting time in the Philippines. I had never been to the Orient, the Asia
That's right.
part of the world, and so it was a new experience for me. And I got to meet a lot of very interesting people, see a lot of interesting places.
So, Mr. Raymond, what was the food that was memorable to you? If you can still remember that.
Well, I had some dishes that I'd never had before, and some of them were really good, some of them were good, and maybe one I wouldn't eat again. I mean, some things, different cultures and
That's
different
right.
places,
Different
we
taste
don't, we
bud.
don't all eat the same things, but yeah, I enjoyed the food while I was over there. Of course, you can look at me and tell that I like to eat. So anyway, it was a good experience. I remember the first thing that I had once we landed over there. It was a very hot day, and the host family there wanted to take us someplace to get cooled off, and so we went to a small restaurant, and one of the hosts recommended that I try halo halo.
Yeah,
And
hello.
I still don't know what all was in that, but it was all tasty and cool and cold and very thirst quenching. So I enjoyed it a lot. So that was my first dish over there. I also, having been over there a few times, I really do enjoy the adobo chicken.
Yeah, adobo. Yeah, love it also. And you know what, Mr. Raymond? During the winter here, while I was playing in the snow, my friends remember about that halo halo. Yeah, because it's made of ice, crushed ice and fruits. Yeah, that's nice. I missed it. So, can you share with us, Mr. Raymond, what do you love about education as a whole?
Well, on a personal level, I also came from a poor home when I was young, and my father passed away when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and so my mom and I had to try and make ends meet, and that was back in the 50s when a lot of women didn't work. So I saw how my mother had to struggle to learn new things and to take on a job that would support both her and I, and it was a life lesson.
I agree, Mr. Raymond, because as per me also personally, I believe that you can use education to battle poverty. Like you can make small gains through education. Like you can land on a better job when you have that good education. So, may I ask, what is the reason behind recruiting Filipino teachers? Like, how did you get in touch with the Filipino teachers?
Well, I think that, for a number of years, back in the late 90s and early 2000s, we were struggling to find enough teachers. I got a call from Ligaya Avenida, who is from the Philippines and had worked in San Francisco, in the San Francisco School District, asking if we were having trouble, like every other school district in the United States just about, to fill positions, and of course the answer was yes. And she said, would you be interested in speaking with me about recruiting some teachers from the Philippines? The following year, I went to Manila with one other administrator from Wichita here, and we recruited 25 teachers from the Philippines to fill positions in math, science, and special education. Wichita, most of them had master's degrees and, at least 2 or 3 years of prior teaching in the Philippines, and so on. So that was our first experience with the first 25. It was very positive, so we went back the next year got 25 more. And that pretty well filled our need.
That's
Graham. And now, as you represent, we recently,
The
just
third
last
batch.
year, 2019, we went back again. I came back from retirement after
Yeah.
10 years and went to the Philippines and recruited some more teachers. Unfortunately, this time we were only able to get 5 out of the 20
That's
that
right.
we had offered positions because 15 struggled with the English language test, which has become much more difficult recently. And so we're still hoping that they can get that test passed in time to come over for our next school year, the beginning of 2020 in August. And one of the things that was very helpful here is we had a small community of Filipino people here in Wichita, and like 200 to 300 maybe, who were in other kinds of professional jobs, working for our aircraft plants, working for our health and medical areas and that type of thing. So they were very helpful in supporting of the new teachers that we have had come over, and you've experienced
That's
that
right, I do.
as well. And without them, it would not have been as positive an experience for the teachers or the school district. They were just great.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I'm very surprised because we were not informed about the Filipino community here. So we were expecting, like, you know, the typical OFW that we see in the movie, the very sad ones, the very dramatic OFW ones, OFW meaning overseas Filipino worker, Mr. Raymond. But we were surprised when we get here. All our staff in the apartment were given freely by the Filipinos. Even the food in our apartment, they were given freely by the Filipinos, including the ride because there is no public transportation here. So it was just overwhelming. It really made our stay here very easy and so much possible. Yeah, there. So from those experiences, Mr. Raymond, what can you say about the quality of work from the Filipino teachers?
Well, when I was looking into recruiting the teachers from the Philippines, I made some phone calls to other districts, including Baltimore, Maryland, I believe, Boston, San Francisco, and maybe a few others, just to find out what their experiences with the Filipino teachers had been. And because they were already doing what we were considering doing, and the response primarily was very positive, that, you know, Filipinos are very dedicated people, they're intelligent, and they're very hard workers. Well, those things all go a long way in helping teachers be very successful. So after hearing that, we made the decision to go ahead and recruit the Filipinos, and I think that's what we see now. I think our teachers from the Philippines work very hard. They're very loyal and dedicated to the school district and the students that they have. And, you know, they're very intelligent as well. Just surviving in a new culture, coming in as a teacher, being able to adapt and so on is not an easy task.
That's right. Oh, it's very heartwarming, very heartfelt comment from Mr. Raymond. Oh, they do recognize our skills, our dedication. Oh, isn't that wonderful? It's all worth the hardships that we experience here. So, Mr. Raymond, so the first and second batches were here for quite a long time. So, what can you say about the Filipinos here are successful in their life here in America, the ones that you recruited back then?
Well, I believe that the Filipinos in Wichita have a very good representation and a very good reputation as well of being, you know, good citizens and, you know, a positive addition to our community. So, you know, and
So there, Mr. Ramos. So say for example, you would need teachers again and would go back, consider recruiting Filipino teachers. So what can you suggest or advise to the other Filipino teachers like me who also aspire to work here and teach here in America?
well, I think from past experience, I would tell them to work hard, don't give up. There will be barriers. You will run into problems with everything from, having your resumes and transcripts approved, courses that are somewhat different in the Philippines than they might be in the United States colleges. And so what counts? I would just say that, you have to keep making the effort to move forward if that's really what you want to do. And you have to expect to run into those roadblocks.
That's right.
Because it's not going to be a smooth transition. But I also tell them, and you've heard me say this as well, that this is going to be the hardest job that you ever loved. Because if you truly are a teacher at heart and you love kids and you love working with kids, it's going to be very fulfilling, but it's not going to be easy.
That's right. Yeah. I would have to agree because good thing we were able to get connected through an agency that is with Dr. Ligaya, foreign exchange culture consultancy, something like that. So they worked with us hand in hand upon all those long procedures, and even up to the very first schedule of my flight. So my flight would be Monday night. The Monday morning, I received a phone call that my flight was canceled. You've been through a lot of experiences, and then you will receive a phone call saying that your flight is canceled. But let me assure you, it was never a better process, but it will always be worth it. And up to now, I'm on my 6 months now working here, teaching here. I still encounter challenges. But at the end of the day, I still made a good decision, the right decision to be here. It's worth it. So my last question would be, do you ever recall a funny experience with a Filipino teacher?
Well, I think there's been several funny experiences.
We're all funny.
One that I feel comfortable sharing, and you've heard this as well, that our culture and our language is similar, but not exactly
That's
alike.
right.
And one of our recent teachers who came over was in her classroom speaking with her students and said, when you do something really well, then I like to give you, a treat. And so she asked her students what did they like to eat as a treat, for a kind of positive reinforcement for what they're doing so well. And one of the students raised his hands and said, we all love goldfish. And she kind of was taken aback at that statement, didn't quite understand what it was, and then until speaking to her later, she had found out that goldfish are little goldfish-shaped crackers that come in a little bag, and so she was under the impression for a while that American students love to eat goldfish
Alive.
So that was kind of a funny story there, and like I say, there's been
Come on, Filipino teachers, when you hear the students say, I love goldfish, what would you think? So, come on. I did not see any aquarium in the classroom or what, and it might be, that risky. But it turned out that the goldfish was a cracker. So there. I hope we inspired you, because I know that year after year, Filipinos were being recruited all over the United States for the different states here. So that's kind of to give you an inspiration. So thank you so much, Mr. Raymond, for today.
Pleasure.
I'm very honored, and thank you also. See, it's a nice view here. Perfect.